Welcome to Einstein's disease. Through real-world insights and powerful conversations with industry leaders, we help you break past limitations and rethink success. Are you ready to push the boundaries of what's possible?
Hi, it's Greg Ellers. I'm back with Einstein's disease weekly show. I have Brian Bewley as my guest and good friend. Brian, it's great to have had you on the show today. I think it's important that our viewers, you and I have started a lot of businesses and we're entrepreneurial about a lot of different things. And going into this whole digital space as you've done, I mean, that's obviously not where you've started. You were in the insurance space, the actuary space, and probably borderline Mensa, aren't you, Brian? But some of that means that you haven't had some of the common sense, or you stay with things maybe a little bit too long, i.e. back to the analogy of leaving the lure in the water too much. So I think for us in this last segment, if we can get you to share a little bit about starting a business, the continuum of how you've measured and done things and gotten to the point where you are right now. There's been a lot of challenges, hasn't there, Brian? I mean, it hasn't just been roses.
Oh no. Well, I mean, we only learn from our failures, Greg. That's
Right.
the way life goes. It's our persistence that matters, and always learning more, and learning from our mistakes, and then finding what works.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, you'd mentioned my career. I mean, my background is in financial services. I've been accused of being an actuary, but just from a mindset standpoint, never actually. Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting road, and every experience that I've had, at the time, there's an element that you have to control, right? And I said it earlier, actually, it was like the shiny object syndrome. It's like we all do it. We all get distracted by things, and sometimes it was a waste of time, but sometimes you'll find that that path that you went down was for a reason, because it either introduced you to a new concept, or it introduced you to new people. And so it's really about how cumulatively, you take the experiences that you have in your life, and you parlay that into, whatever your current venture is.
Yeah. Staying with that analogy of the lure, how do you go about assessing where you are in your different businesses? I mean, Get Digital is only one thing that you do. Um, it's what you do the best. It's what you do the most of, obviously. But you've got other things going on. But how do you know when you've kept that lure in the water too long, Brian? Is it when your wife tells you that you're wasting your time? Is it because you don't get to you're not getting the teamwork that you're looking for? How do you measure when that lure's been in the water too long? Maybe you can give us an example.
Um, yeah, I think that it's, chasing a particular business venture, and assessing whether or not you've been in it for too long, and if it's not working out. Um, Boy, that's a tough one, Greg. That is a tough one, because ultimately it's that, what do you call it, sunk cost fallacy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're in too deep and you can't you just can't give up.
Right. So I have a unique way of looking at that. And in terms of metrics, that's hard to quantify. That's hard to quantify. So what I believe, though, I believe in trends. If things aren't working or not accelerating, I mean, in the subscription based space, it's monthly recurring revenue. In financial services, it's commissions and fees, and so on. Uh, just depends on what business you're in. If you're not making forward progress, the question that you really have to ask yourself is, you know, do I love what I'm doing? Do I enjoy what I'm doing? Do I think I'm bringing value to the people that I'm trying to do business with? And if so, then the question really isn't, when do I fish or cut bait? Okay. The question is, how do I adjust what I'm doing currently to make that successful? So I think it's those, you know, I think what you have to do is iterate fast. I think that you have to look at what you're doing and saying, if what I'm doing is not yielding the results that I want and need, so that I can keep my wife at bay, then what I have to do is I have to make the necessary adjustments, and acknowledge the failure of the current strategy as quickly as possible and try new things.
Yeah. Do you get up every day excited to go to work, Brian?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
When
still.
was the when do you use that as a benchmark sometimes, where you've made a tactical change in something that you're doing? Does does your day start with an assessment? What you know
Not
because
consciously,
you've
not
had a
con.
lot of success, but at the same time, like you mentioned, I mean, you only succeed because you fail. If you can not do the same thing over and over again.
Right. Well, nobody looks at all the failures that you went through.
Yeah,
They look at the success and say, "Oh, look how he got there. He made it so look so easy." And it's like, well, you weren't there for the ride. And
right.
so, in terms of waking up and being passionate about what you're doing, honestly, you know, at this stage in history and the opportunities that exist for people to change their path, and the low barrier to entry that we were mentioning, in terms of starting that new business and taking that chance, it's never been a lower barrier to get started. And it's like, well, getting back to, are you passionate? Are you happy with what you're doing? And how do you measure that? I don't know how you measure it, but I will say this, that if you're not waking up every day and excited to do what you're doing, you should be spending an inordinate amount of time figuring out what it is that you want to do, because you only get one life. And so you should be spending your time figuring out what is that you want to do with it, and finding the path that can lead you there.
No, for sure. So on that, because that was a softball you just threw at me, and we talked about this setting up the show. We were going to talk about the continuum of your career. What's next for Brian? What talk to us about where you're going? What's that next shiny object, even within the business realm you're in? What's there for Brian?
Well, I'm focusing in on with Get Digital, currently working on a solution that's specific to the financial services business. And, my product market match is this. I see in financial services a lot of myths and misunderstandings. They're just very prevalent in the world. And unfortunately, the well, how do we say this, the the audience and the customers, if you tell them what they want to hear, right, you're going to be the most successful person ever. But if you tell them reality, it's very hard to get them to bite down on that, because then they've got to get real with themselves. And what does that lead to in financial services? It means that you're not necessarily going to get the best advice. If you're constantly working with and looking towards people that are just telling you what you want to hear.
Right.
That said, where does digital marketing get into this? Well, um, I'm very interested in helping the insurance or the investment advisor communicate a message that is generally not as easy to communicate, and provide them that lower barrier to entry in terms of communicating that value proposition that they bring, and that passion that they bring to serving their clients, and not just selling things that you know
Illicit money for the
maybe give
person that's
clients a
selling
false
it.
hope.
Yeah. I think what you and this is interesting, because I'm sure that our viewers are going to pick up on it because I'm such a great host. But when you think about it from the standpoint of the challenges or the problems in digital media, and then trying to find a solution, and we talked about that, and getting into starting a business and where you see the opportunities going forward. I think it really is, and are the trends that you talked about before, understanding where the trends are. America and a lot of the world is more open to reality versus aspirational messaging, right? Aspirational messaging's been a great thing for better part of I don't know, a couple of decades. Everything is, you just go buy a new pair of rose-colored glasses. In fact, that's what I sell online, and everything's going to be great. But there's a change that's taken place, and that's what you're talking about in terms of your future with financial services, in terms of more of an honest assessment. And we're seeing that all the way with new businesses as people look at starting things. A show like this, Einstein's disease, breaking barriers. Your messaging is really about something that hasn't been a part of advertising, because that's not what has been garnishing sales. It's now more about reality. And I think you touched on that in a great way there, Brian. And I can't tell you that that's where I thought we'd end this, but you brought it back full circle right there at the end, bringing your continuum. And I really appreciate you joining me on the show today. This is our 10th episode of Einstein's disease, and you're one of my top 10 friends, and I really appreciate you being a part of it.
Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome. And with that, we'll call it a night. Thank you very much for joining us today. And my name's Greg Ellers, host of Einstein's disease. Have a great evening.